The wooden door slammed shut with a loud bang. "Please, I need help," Ash shouted. A woman appeared in the doorway of the house. She looked at the dusty man with suspicion. In her arms, a baby cried nonstop. "My wife passed away a week ago," Ash explained in a broken voice. "The baby needs milk. Do you have milk for my son?" The woman shook her head. "I'm sorry, stranger. My children are already grown. I can't help you." The door closed. It was the 10th door that had been shut in his face. Ash looked at his son Thomas. The little one was barely 3 months old. His face was red from crying, his lips dry, his eyes closed from exhaustion. "We're going to find help, I promise," Ash whispered, but in his heart fear grew like a dark shadow. It had all started a week earlier. Sarah had given birth in their small cabin north of the territory. The labor was long and painful. The town's midwife did everything she could, but something went wrong. Sarah lost a lot of blood. 3 days after Thomas's birth, Sarah opened her eyes one last time. "Ash, take care of our baby," she said in a weak voice. "Make him happy, promise me." "I promise, my love, I promise," she smiled. Then she closed her eyes and never opened them again. Ash buried her under the large oak tree near the cabin. There was no ceremony, just him, his grief, and the promises he had made to her. During the first few days, he tried to feed the baby cow's milk diluted with water, but Thomas refused it. He cried and cried. He was growing weaker. Ash knew what that meant. Without breast milk, a baby so small wouldn't survive long. Then began his desperate search. First, he went to the town of Red Canyon, 3 hours away on horseback. He knocked on the door of every house where he knew there were young women. Some listened with compassion, but none could help. "My baby is 6 months old. I don't have enough milk anymore," one told him. "I've never had children," another replied. "Strangers bring trouble. Get out of here," a man shouted from a window. Next, he tried the Morrison Ranch to the east. Mrs. Morrison was known for her kind heart, but when he arrived, he discovered she had traveled to the big city to visit her sister. "She won't be back for 2 weeks," the foreman informed him. 2 weeks. Thomas didn't have 2 weeks. Then he rode to the German settler community in the river valley. They were hardworking, religious people. Surely someone would have compassion. But when he arrived, he found the place nearly empty. A fever epidemic had forced many families to leave temporarily. Only the elderly and single men remained. "I'm sorry, son," an old man with a white beard told him. "There are no young women here now. Try further south near the mountains." Friends, if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and please comment which country you're listening from. We love knowing where our listeners are. Now let's continue. Ash rode south. The blazing sun gave no relief. Thomas cried weaker and weaker. That was worse than loud crying. It meant he was giving up. "No, son, don't give up," Ash pleaded. "We're going to find help." On the 4th day of searching, Ash reached the limit of his strength. The horse was exhausted too. He hadn't eaten well, hadn't slept, only thought about saving his son. Then in the distance, he saw something that gave him a glimmer of hope. 3 women were walking along the desert path. They carried baskets in their hands and wore traditional Apache clothing. Their black hair shone in the sun. Ash spurred his horse and galloped toward them. "Wait, please wait," he shouted. The 3 women stopped. They looked at him cautiously. It was rare to see a white man so desperate in these lands. Ash dismounted quickly, nearly stumbling from exhaustion. He approached them with Thomas in his arms. "Please, my baby needs help," he said in Spanish, the language he had learned from Sarah. "My wife died. Child needs milk. Do you have milk? Can you help him?" The 3 women looked at each other. Then they looked at the baby. The tallest of them, with deep, dark eyes, spoke first. "I am Anna. She is Chenoa, and she is Dakota." Dakota stepped closer and looked at the baby tenderly. She was the youngest of the 3, perhaps 25 years old. Her face showed compassion. "I have milk," she said softly. "My baby is 4 months old." Ash felt his heart beat strongly. Finally, someone could. Thank you, I'll do anything. I'll pay you. I'll work for you as long as you need." But Anna raised her hand. "Wait, stranger, it's not that simple." Ash looked at her confused. "What do you mean?" Chenoa, the one with the longest hair, spoke with a firm voice. "We can help your baby, but it has a price." "I don't have much money, but I have some savings," Ash replied quickly. "I'll give you everything." "We don't want your money," said Anna. "Then what do you want?" The 3 women looked at each other again. They seemed to be communicating silently. Finally, Dakota spoke. "Come with us to our village. There we will explain." The Apache village was hidden among the rocky hills. Small adobe dwellings were arranged in a circle around a central space. Children played near campfires. Men worked repairing tools. Women wove and prepared food. When Ash arrived with the 3 women, everyone stopped to look at him. An older man approached. His face was marked with deep wrinkles that told stories of many years. He wore traditional clothing decorated with tribal symbols. "I am Kuruk, leader of this village," he said in Spanish. "Who are you, stranger?" "My name is Ash. My baby is starving to death." These women said they could help him. Kuruk looked at the baby. Thomas cried weakly in his father's arms. "Dakota, take the child to your home. Feed him." Ash felt relief mixed with fear. He didn't want to be separated from his son, but Thomas needed to eat urgently. Dakota extended her arms. "Give me the baby. He'll be fine, I promise." With trembling hands, Ash handed over Thomas. Watching him walk away was like tearing out his own heart, but it was necessary. Dakota entered one of the dwellings. Ash could hear the baby's crying gradually calm down. He imagined his son feeding for the first time in days. Silent tears rolled down his dusty cheeks. "Thank you," he whispered toward the dwelling. Thank you. Kuruk pointed to a log under the shade of a tree. Sit down, Ash, we need to talk. Ash obeyed. The three women sat in a semicircle facing him. Kuruk remained standing. Your son will live, Kuruk began. Takoda will feed him until he grows strong, but nothing in this life is free, stranger. Everything has balance. I understand, Ash replied. I'll pay you. I'll work for you as long as you need. Anna shook her head. We don't need your money or your temporary work. We need something more permanent. Ash frowned, confused. Chenoa spoke clearly. Our village faces a problem. 3 years ago, there was a war with another clan. We lost many warriors. Now there are few young couples. Many women are alone. I'm very sorry for your loss, Ash said sincerely, but I don't understand what that has to do with me. Kuruk crossed his arms. It has everything to do with you. We need young, strong men. Men who can start families and help our village grow. Ash's heart began to beat faster. He didn't like where this conversation was going. Anna looked him directly in the eyes. We will save your son. We will feed him, care for him as if he were our own, but in return you will stay here. Stay, asked Ash. Yes, continued Chenoa, and you will marry one of us three. Silence fell like a heavy rock. Ash opened his mouth, but no words came out. He had heard correctly. Marry. Finally he managed to say, one of you. Takoda came out of the dwelling at that moment. She approached the group with a small smile. Your son is eating well. He fell asleep in my arms. He's beautiful. Ash wanted to run to the dwelling, see Thomas hold him, but his legs wouldn't respond. No, I can't marry, Ash said with a trembling voice. My wife Sarah died only a week ago. I still love her. Kuruk nodded with understanding. Grieving is important. We respect it. But your son needs a mother. He needs milk not just for days, but for months. He needs care, love, a family. I can be his family, Ash protested. I am his father. A father alone is not enough for such a small baby, said Anna. He will die without breast milk, you know this. It was true, Ash knew it. The last few days had proven it brutally. Chenoa leaned forward. We're not asking you to forget your wife. We're only asking you to think about your son. What would she want? For Thomas to die because you can't move forward. The words hit Ash like punches. He remembered Sarah's last words, take care of him, make him happy. This is too fast, Ash murmured. I don't know them, I don't know anything about you. Kuruk raised a hand. That's why we'll give you time. 5 days, you will stay in our village. You will get to know Anna, Chenoa, and Takoda. You will see how they live, who they are. Your son will be safe and fed. And after 5 days you will choose one of them or you will leave, Kuruk replied firmly. But if you leave, your son stays. We will not let him die in the desert because of your pride. Ash felt the world spinning around him. You can't take my son. We're not taking him, Takoda said gently. We're giving you a choice. Save your son and build a new life here, or condemn him and live with that guilt forever. The words were harsh but honest. Ash looked toward the dwelling where Thomas slept, his little son, the only thing he had left of Sarah. The promise he had made to his wife echoed in his mind. 5 days, Ash repeated weakly. 5 days, Kuruk confirmed. Use that time wisely. Anna stood up. We'll show you where you'll sleep, rest. Tomorrow you will begin to get to know us. Ash walked as if in a dream behind them. They led him to a small, empty dwelling. There was a simple cot, a blanket, and a jug of water. Sleep, said Chenoa. You have traveled far. The three women withdrew. Ash collapsed onto the cot. His mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Marrying a stranger in 5 days was impossible, absurd, cruel, but it was the only way to save Thomas. He closed his eyes. Sarah's image appeared in his mind, her smile, her eyes full of love, her last request. What do I do, Sarah? He whispered into the void. What do you want me to do? The wind blew softly through the hills. There was no answer. Only the silence of the night and the impossible weight of a decision that would change his life forever. Outside, under the stars, the three women also thought about the stranger with sad eyes and the baby who now slept peacefully among them. 5 days to decide a fate. The clock had begun to tick. The sun was barely rising when Ash woke up. He hadn't slept well. Nightmares had pursued him all night. He saw Sarah, spoke to her, but she disappeared like smoke. He left the dwelling. The village was already awake. Women prepared breakfast. Men organized themselves to work in the fields. Takoda appeared with Thomas in her arms. Good morning, Ash. Your son slept all night. He ate well. Ash ran to her and took his baby. Thomas was calm. His cheeks had better color. For the first time in days, he looked like a healthy baby. Thank you for taking care of him, Ash said in a broken voice. It's a pleasure. He's a beautiful boy, Takoda replied with a genuine smile. At that moment, shouts came from the other side of the village. Wild horses, they're coming this way. Ash looked up. A herd of wild horses was galloping directly toward the village. There were at least 20 animals running out of control. In their path were the corrals where several children were playing. The children, screamed a terrified woman. The village men ran to help, but they were far away. The horses were approaching quickly. The children were frozen with fear. Ash didn't think. He acted on instinct. He gave Thomas back to Takoda and ran to his horse. He mounted in a second, grabbed his lass from his gear, and galloped straight toward the herd. Ash, it's too dangerous, shouted Chenoa, but Ash was already moving. He had tamed wild horses his whole life. He knew their patterns, their fears, their reactions. He galloped parallel to the herd, looking for the leader. There was always a leader, a strong stallion that guided the others. He found it, a huge black horse running at the front. Ash turned his horse and angled himself. He needed to change the direction of the herd before they reached the children. He swung the lasso over his head once, twice, 3 times, then he threw it. The lasso flew through the air and fell perfectly around the black stallion's neck. The animal reared up furiously, pulled hard. Ash nearly flew off his horse, but he quickly tied the other end of the lasso to his saddle. "Come on, friend, show me what you've got," Ash shouted. The stallion pulled to one side. Ash's horse resisted. The tension was enormous. The stallion's muscles bulged as he struggled to free himself. Ash began to turn his horse slowly to the right, away from the village. The stallion had no choice. Either he followed the direction or he would choke on the lasso. The animal was intelligent. He understood he couldn't win this battle. He began to turn, and when the leader turned, the whole herd followed him. The wild horses changed direction, ran parallel to the village, then moved away toward the hills. The children were safe. The entire village had fallen silent, watching the scene. Ash kept pressure on the lasso. He followed the stallion into the desert. He knew he couldn't keep him trapped forever. These animals needed to be free. When they were far enough from the village, Ash loosened the lasso. With an expert movement, he freed it from the stallion's neck. The black horse stopped. He looked at Ash for a long moment. His dark eyes shone with something that looked like respect. Then he shook his head and galloped toward his herd. Ash watched them disappear among the hills. He breathed deeply. His heart beat like a drum. When he returned to the village, everyone was waiting for him. The children ran toward him, laughing and jumping. "You're amazing," shouted one. "I've never seen anything like it," exclaimed another. The mothers approached with tears in their eyes. "You saved our children," said one of them. "Thank you, stranger, thank you." Kuruk walked toward Ash. His serious expression had softened. "You have shown courage and skill, but more importantly, you have shown that you care about our people. You had no obligation to risk your life for our children." "Anyone would have done the same," Ash replied modestly. "No," said Anna, approaching. "Not anyone. Many would have run away to protect themselves. You ran toward danger." Chenoa also approached. "You are an extraordinary rider. Few men can control a wild stallion like that." Takoda arrived with Thomas in her arms. The baby had slept through the entire event. "Your son can be proud of you," she said with a warm smile. Ash took Thomas and hugged him. The little one yawned and snuggled against his father's chest. Kuruk put a hand on Ash's shoulder. "Tonight we will have a celebration in your honor. We will share food and stories. You will be our special guest." "It's not necessary," Ash protested. "I just did the right thing." "Exactly," replied Kuruk. "You did the right thing when you didn't have to. That says a lot about your character." As the day continued, Ash noticed something different. The village people looked at him differently. He was no longer just the desperate stranger. He was the man who had saved their children. The elders greeted him with respect. The young ones wanted to hear stories of his adventures. The mothers offered him food with gratitude. In the afternoon, Anna approached him. "Come, I want to show you something." Led him to the village stables. There were several horses there, but none like the ones Ash had seen. "Our horses are good for work," Anna explained, "but we are not experts at training them like you. Could you teach us?" Ash looked at the animals. They were strong but nervous. They needed patience and technique. Of course, it would be an honor. They spent the afternoon working with the horses. Ash showed Anna how to approach without scaring them, how to speak to them in a calm voice, how to earn their trust. Anna learned quickly. She was observant and intelligent. "You have a gift," Ash told her. "You just need practice." "My father was a great rider," Anna shared. "He died in the war. I always wanted to be like him." Ash noticed the sadness in her eyes. It was a sadness he knew well, the loss of a loved one. "I'm sorry for your loss," he said sincerely. "And I for yours," she replied. "I know your wife was important to you. I see it in your eyes." There was a moment of shared silence. Two people who understood each other's pain. That night the village gathered around a large bonfire. There was music, dance, and abundant food. Children played while adults talked. Ash sat with Thomas on his lap. He watched everything with a mixture of wonder and confusion. These people treated him like family, and he had only known them for a day. Chenoa sat beside him. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Confused," Ash admitted. "Honest. Honesty is good," Chenoa replied. "It means you have a genuine heart." Takoda approached with a plate of food. "You must eat, you need strength." Ash ate while the three women sat nearby. They didn't pressure him, didn't talk about marriage or decisions. They were just there, present and kind. For the first time since Sarah's death, Ash felt something strange in his chest. It wasn't happiness, not yet, but it wasn't desperation either. It was something in between, something small but real. Perhaps it was hope. The 5 days passed faster than Ash could have imagined. During that time, he got to know the three women in ways he never expected. Anna took him each morning to train horses. She was direct, strong, and never complained. She could ride as well as any man. She had scars on her hands from years of hard work, but when she smiled, her face lit up completely. "My dream is to have a ranch with the best horses in the territory," she confided one day. "Horses so good that people travel for days just to see them." Ash admired that ambition. It was similar to the dreams he and Sarah had once had. Chenoa was different. She spent afternoons teaching him about the medicinal plants of the desert. She knew which leaves cured fevers, which roots relieved pain, which flowers made ointments for wounds. "Nature gives us everything we need," she explained as they walked through the hills. "We just need to learn to listen to her." Her hands created beauty from nothing. She wove blankets with intricate patterns, made clay pots that looked like works of art. She was patient, thoughtful, and deeply wise. But it was Dakota who spent the most time with Ash because she cared for Thomas during the day. Ash watched as she rocked his son, how she sang soft songs to him in her language, how she looked at him with genuine affection. Thomas smiled when she appeared. The baby recognized her as someone safe, someone who cared for him. "You have a gift with children," Ash told her one afternoon. Dakota smiled sadly. "I lost my husband 2 years ago. I was expecting our first child when he died in the war. My son was born, but I couldn't give him all my heart. I was broken inside. Caring for Thomas has helped me heal." Ash understood that pain, the loss, the emptiness, the guilt of continuing to live when a loved one was gone. "Your husband would be proud of you," Ash said. "You are a wonderful mother." Tears glistened in Dakota's eyes. "Thank you, that means a lot to me." At night, the four of them sat by the fire. They talked about everything and nothing, about dreams, memories, hopes. Ash told them about Sarah, how they met at a town dance, how she made him laugh when he was too serious, how they built their cabin with their own hands. The women listened without judgment. They respected his pain, and Ash learned about them, their stories, their losses, their strengths. They were three extraordinary women. Any man would be fortunate to be with any of them, but that was the problem. Ash wasn't seeking fortune. He wasn't seeking a new love. His heart still belonged to Sarah. The night before the 5th day, Ash couldn't sleep. He walked under the stars with Thomas in his arms. "What do I do, little one?" he whispered to his son. "Your mother asked me to take care of you, to make you happy. But how can I marry someone when my heart is broken?" Thomas looked at him with big, innocent eyes. He had no answers, only absolute trust in his father. Ash thought about his options. He could choose Anna. She was strong, ambitious, hardworking. They would build something great together. He could choose Chenoa. She was wise, artistic, healing. She would teach him to see the world in new ways. He could choose Dakota. She was maternal, compassionate, gentle. She would care for Thomas as if he were her own son. All three were good choices, but none were the right choice, because marriage shouldn't be a transaction. It shouldn't be an exchange of favors. It should be love, commitment, free choice, and Ash wasn't ready for that. Perhaps he never would be. When the morning of the 5th day arrived, the entire village gathered in the center. Kuruk stood by the ceremonial fire. The three women waited in a line, dressed in their best clothes. They looked beautiful and nervous. Ash walked to the center with Thomas in his arms. His heart beat strongly. "The moment has come," announced Kuruk. "5 days have passed. Ash, you have met these three women. You have seen their qualities. You have shared time with them. Now you must choose. Which one will you marry?" Silence fell over the village. Everyone waited. Ash looked at the three women. Anna looked at him with hope, Chenoa with serenity, Dakota with tenderness. He took a deep breath. "I want to thank everyone for their hospitality," Ash began. "You saved my son's life. You treated me with respect and kindness. I will always be in your debt." He paused. The words that came next were the hardest he had ever spoken. "Anna, you are brave and strong. Any man would be fortunate to call you wife. Chenoa, you are wise and talented. Your art touches the soul. Dakota, you are compassionate and loving. My son adores you." The three women smiled slightly, but there was tension in the air. "But I cannot choose any of you." Murmurs of surprise arose from the crowd. "Not because you are unworthy," Ash continued quickly, "but because I am not worthy. I cannot marry someone when my heart is still in mourning. It wouldn't be fair to you. You deserve someone who can love you completely, not someone who is broken inside." Kuruk frowned. "Then what do you propose?" Ash stepped forward. "I propose to stay in this village. I will work to earn my place. I will train your horses. I will help in the fields. I will protect your children, but not as anyone's husband, as a member of the community, as a friend." "That was not the deal," Kuruk said with a hard voice. "I know," Ash admitted, "and if you decide that I must leave, I will understand, but I ask you to reconsider. I have shown my value here. I helped when I had no obligation to do so. I am not asking for charity. I am asking for the opportunity to belong without false attachments." The silence was heavy as a rock. Then Anna stepped forward. "I support his decision." Everyone looked at her in surprise. "What?" asked Anna. Dakota smiled sadly. "He's right. Forced marriage doesn't create happiness. It creates resentment. If Ash stayed here under obligation, he would never truly be happy. And neither would we. He deserves time to heal. We all do." Chenoa nodded slowly. "Dakota is right. I have seen how Ash looks at his wife's photo when he thinks no one is watching. His love for her is real. We cannot force him to forget her." Anna crossed her arms. She seemed annoyed, but then she sighed. "I don't like to admit defeat, but I agree. I want a husband who chooses me because he wants to, not because he has to." Kuruk looked at the three women, then at Ash, then at the crowd. "This stranger has challenged our traditions," he said loudly. "But he has also shown honor and courage. He saved our children. He shared his knowledge. He has been honest when he could have lied." He walked around the fire thinking, "My decision is this. Ash may stay not as a husband, but as a member of our village. He will work, contribute, and raise his son here. The three women are free from any commitment. If someday Ash wishes to court one of them for true love, he will be welcome to try, but only if it is genuine." A murmur of approval ran through the crowd. 6 months had passed since that memorable day. Winter came and went. Spring brought wildflowers to the hills. The village prospered with the new techniques Ash had shared. The village horses were now the most docile and best trained in the entire region. Families from neighboring towns came to buy them. Trade flourished. Prosperity came to every home. Ash had become an integral part of the community. He was no longer the stranger. He was simply Ash, the horse trainer, the friend, the devoted father. Thomas grew strong and healthy. He was now 9 months old. He crawled everywhere, exploring the world with infinite curiosity. His laughter filled the village with joy. 3 women cared for him like loving aunts, each bringing something special to his life. Anna taught him not to fear animals. Even at such a young age, Thomas laughed when she put him on a gentle horse. Chenoa sang to him and showed him flowers and colorful stones. The little one was fascinated by the patterns she wove, but it was Takoda who spent the most time with Thomas. She fed him when Ash was working, put him to sleep when he cried, comforted him when he fell. Ash watched this with gratitude and something more, something that had been growing slowly in his heart for months. One spring afternoon, Ash was working in the corral. He was training a young foal when he saw Takoda playing with Thomas under a tree. She was tickling him and the baby laughed uncontrollably. Then she hugged him and gave him a kiss on the forehead. The scene was so natural, so full of love, that Ash felt something breaking in his chest. It wasn't pain, it was something different. It was the sound of his heart beginning to heal. That night Ash went to the place where he kept his belongings. He took out a small wooden box. Inside was a photo of Sarah. He looked at it for a long time, her beautiful smiling face, her eyes full of life. "Sarah," he whispered, "I have kept my promise. Thomas is happy, he is healthy, he is surrounded by love." He touched the photo tenderly. "But I need to tell you something, and I hope you understand. My heart is beginning to feel again. I mean, I've forgotten you. I will never forget you. You were my first love, the mother of my son. You will always have a place in my heart." Tears ran down his cheeks. "But I think it's time to move forward. I think you would want that for me. Would you want Thomas to have a mother? Would you want me to be happy again?" He put the photo away carefully. He didn't hide it. He simply placed it where it belonged, in his heart, but not blocking his future. The next morning, Ash sought out Kuruk. "I need your advice," he told the leader. Kuruk smiled. He was a wise man. He probably already knew what Ash was going to say. "Speak, son. My feelings for Takoda have changed. At first, I only felt gratitude, but now it's more than that. I respect her. I admire her. I enjoy her company, and I think I could love her if she would let me." "And what stops you?" "Fear," Ash admitted. "Fear of not being enough. Fear of betraying Sarah's memory. Fear that Takoda doesn't feel the same." Kuruk put a hand on his shoulder. "Fear is natural, but living in fear is not living. If your feelings are genuine, you must speak with her. But do it with honesty, not as an obligation, but as a choice." Ash nodded. He knew Kuruk was right. That afternoon, he asked Takoda if they could walk together. She accepted with a curious smile. They walked toward the hills as the sun began to set. Thomas slept in Chenoa's arms, who had agreed to watch him for a few hours. "Takoda," Ash began when they reached a quiet place with a view of the valley. "There's something I need to tell you." She looked at him with those dark, patient eyes. "I'm listening." Ash took a deep breath. "When I arrived here 6 months ago, I was broken. I didn't just need help for Thomas, I needed help for myself. I was lost in my grief." "I know," Takoda said softly. "I saw it in your eyes. You helped me heal. Not just by caring for Thomas, though that meant everything to me. You helped me by being yourself, patient, kind, real." Takoda waited in silence, but her cheeks flushed slightly. "These months I have come to know you, your strength, your gentleness, your wisdom, and I have realized something important." Ash took her hands. "I have fallen in love with you, Takoda, not out of obligation, not out of gratitude, but because you are an extraordinary woman. Because when I see you with Thomas, my heart fills with joy. Because when I talk to you, I feel peace." Tears began to run down Takoda's cheeks. "Ash, I know I have no right to ask you for anything," Ash continued. "I know I arrived here as a desperate man, but if you would give me the opportunity, I would like to court you properly, not as a deal, as a man who genuinely wants to get to know a woman he admires." Takoda smiled through her tears. "Do you know how long I have waited to hear those words?" Ash blinked in surprise. "What?" "Since the second month," Takoda confessed. "I began to feel something for you, the way you love your son, the way you treat everyone with respect, your honesty, but I didn't say anything because I knew you needed time." "You felt the same?" "Yes," she replied with a soft laugh. "I was waiting for your heart to heal enough to see what was right in front of you." Ash hugged her. She returned the embrace. For the first time in a year, Ash felt something he thought he would never feel again. Hope, joy, love. It wasn't the same love he had felt for Sarah. That love had been young, passionate, full of dreams. This love was different, more mature, built on respect, admiration, and shared experiences. But it was real, and it was beautiful. When they returned to the village, Anna and Chenoa were waiting with knowing smiles. "It's about time," Anna joked. "We were starting to think you'd never realize it." "Everyone knew," added Chenoa, "except you two, apparently." That night there was a celebration, not of marriage, not yet. That would come in time when both were ready. It was a celebration of new beginnings, of healed hearts, of love found in unexpected places. Ash sat with Thomas on his lap and Takoda by his side. He looked at the stars and whispered one last time to Sarah, "Thank you for giving me Thomas. Thank you for teaching me to love. Rest in peace, my love. I'll be fine. We'll all be fine." The wind blew softly like a final caress, and Ash knew deep in his heart that Sarah was smiling, because a father had saved his son. A community had gained a valuable member. 3 women had found respect and choice, and a broken man had learned to love again, not out of obligation but by choice, the best kind of love that exists.